Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott back from California, and boy, 24 hours to get back. We had delays, diversions, cancellations, more delays. Ended up spending the night in DFW and got home this afternoon. So, those that are looking for the new E-index and other things in the last video recording from the meeting, probably going to wait till tomorrow. Don't have the energy to go find that computer and boot it up and get that done. But I did want to put out a quick video. I called it Markets Pair Gains in the last hours, as all eyes are on China, as the negotiations with China are taking center stage, at least for Monday and Tuesday. And then we know that we have some inflation data coming shortly after that. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott, marketmripro@gmail.com. My older email is hcsidoc@gmail.com. And my Google Groups is called Top Down Trader. Please come and join us. As always, for educational purposes only, anything we recommend is in the spirit of education, not investment advice. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk, and you'll are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock mentioned in this report, and trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should always consult with your financial advisors before making trades, and I have tools on multiple platforms. I am happy to announce, and I should have announced it at the meeting, that we will start a formal user group for my tools, which means we'll do a monthly educational meeting, focusing mostly on Market MRI Pro, but not ignoring the power of the scanners in Wealth Charts and TradeStation. From an indicator perspective, they're the same across all the platforms, so it's really the scanners that'll have to differentiate. So you'll hear more about that, and I hope that everybody who has my tools at any platform will join. It won't cost anything. And my Google group also doesn't cost anything. Just go to Google group, sign in, search for Top Down Trader, let me know you want in, I'll let you in, and you'll get to front run some of the things that I do. And some nights I only post videos there. Know your news and earnings. We got some optimism index on Tuesday. I think the bigger view will be what happens in the negotiations with China on trade. That would be a big coup for Trump. And the markets after hours were up initially. Let's see if they're still up. And we're kind of excited, I think, by those negotiations. They're still up. What else? We got some earnings tomorrow and the rest of the week. But as you can see, earnings season is coming to a halt, and it's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It's bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. And on to the charts. So this is the Market MRI Pro, and if we start to look at changes, Dow is flat. Bitcoin was up again. Let me rank it by performance. Here we go. You can see Bitcoin led and continuing a theme. Russell was up point. Let me put on my glasses. 6.9. Wow. You can see the Qs came back to up 0.15, Spider 0.11, and the diamonds were flat. Dollar was down, volatility was down. Closing ranges, only Bitcoin was up high, the rest were all in the middle. We did see 12-week new highs greater than new lows in both the NYSE and the NASDAQ. That's good. You could see blue and gray, green and gray, that the number of positive sectors and industry groups were down compared to Friday, which was a super day. But if you look at advances, S&P 1500 67, NASDAQ 55, and the NYSE 60. If we look down at what was leading the market, we can see that a mixed market. In fact, only four sectors were up: discretionary, materials, tech, and energy. The laggards were utilities, financials, communications, healthcare, and staples was kind of in the middle. It's kind of a mixed bag, not truly growth names up top and not truly defensive on the bottom. It was kind of a mixture. But the big growths of discretionary and tech were some of the leading groups. Uranium did well again. China, social media, semiconductors, consumer discretionary, metals, mining, autonomous vehicles, blockchain, home construction, interestingly, Internet of Things were some of the leading themes. If we go and look at the timing model, you'd expect no change. Now what's interesting, it's we might be able to move this a little bit here, but it does look like the spider, at least on the daily charts, let's blow this up, has kind of broken under this trend line. It doesn't mean anything. It might suggest it's just going to consolidate, and we'll see. And maybe that was a consolidation right here last week. But if we look at the buy-sell sign for the daily market timing model, it remains a buy on all four of the majors, and the weekly, which doesn't finish until the end of Friday, continues in a buy, which is how it started the week. If we look at the ETFs, you'll see that not much changed in the market. Let's see if we can make this a little bit smaller. Let's go to 60. You could see dojis galore. A doji on the spider. The spider was up a lot and came back up 0.11 to finish. Volume was actually, on the spider looks low, but when I look at Market Smith, it looks like volume was actually higher. We'll see if that doesn't correct overnight. We can see up here 0.15 up on the Qs, and again, a couple of dojis in a row. Please note that the doji the day before was 1% higher than the prior close. Again, another doji on the diamonds, flat. Russell was up again, finishing up 0.69. Not quite a doji, but with both top and bottom tails, there's still some indecision there. Volatility bounced a little bit, was up 2%. And the dollar, which bounced a little bit on Friday, is still bouncing around the bottom. It was down 0.26. If we take a look at commodities, let's bring this down to 50 bars as well. You could see that gold is still in the channel and was up off the bottom of the channel 0.5%. Silver continues to outperform, up 2%. Oil has broken above the 50 and now is going to threaten against the 200. Natural gas struggling at the 200. And then if you look at the 10-year, it's kind of buried in there, was actually down 0.5% after a big rally on Friday. And the 30-year has a similar candle and was down 0.16%. If we look at the buckets, we got more color over gray, which means the current bar is greater than the prior bar. Still not a signal, not overbought, but a strong day according to the buckets. Market breadth, you could see the doji as well in the NYSE, doji on the NASDAQ. But you could see we still are seeing creeping higher stocks above the 20 in green, 50 in white, and 200. We can see on both instruments, new high, new lows, AD lines, and up-down volume are still positive. And the bango, we had a bango in the market on, nope, we had bango the last 2 days, but I don't think I'll have to make this a little bit bigger. Looks like maybe we did have a bango. Yep, we had another bango, which is another exuberance to the long side. You see a bunch of bangos and you get worried that, like we saw in here, the market takes a breather. So I'll sum up what I see on the markets. Decent day, better earlier, of course. Futures are up. Still, I think pointing long, although risk continues to rise. And we'll see if we run into all-time highs and then fail, or do we consolidate some before we get there. I'm still long, and let's go take a look at the ratio charts. Ratio charts in the market, you can see Bitcoin strength improved. The defensive plays, staples are weak, utilities are weak, real estates are weak, materials came up a little bit, healthcare was weak. The strength remains industrials and technology. That's really, to me, where I see the strength. If I go into the JAS layout, my favorite stock over the weekend was Amazon, and I talked about it last night on the video, and I think we can see why I liked it. We're running the scan here, so it may take a few seconds. Really appreciate everybody that made it out there. Now, I guess you might say this is a skinny cup and a handle and a breakout. Whatever it is, I'd love to pull back to the 50, the indecision there in the breakout here, and Amazon was up in the market. Let's just add this indicator here. I like seeing the percent change. So we have an indicator for that, which is, now it should power up right over here. And there it is. So you can see Amazon in the market was up 1.6%. Let's go look at the top-down view and see what we see as leadership. Materials, technology, real estate were the top three. And if we look at the industry groups, we see that these are the top 10. So let's look at specialty industrial. Just one stock, so that's a new thing. Asset management, uranium, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and add one more because that first one wasn't a significant group. It's an IPO that's not placed yet. Here we have the stocks in the top 10 industry groups. If we rank this by relative volume, you see the ones that really were moving. Let's take a look. First, let's kill those stocks less than $5 and less than 500,000 shares. And let's just take a look at some of the things that came to the top. These don't necessarily have to be good. They could be up or down. They just had a lot of movement. Wise Key International Holdings, don't know anything about them. Cheap stock, but breaking above the 200. NA, Nanolab Technology. Interesting two-day pattern here, breaking out above the moving averages and IPO. Again, I don't know anything about them. Actually, let me make one change here in my chart. I hope I'm not duplicating myself. I had stopped when I was talking. We had some great speakers. We had Chris White reminding us of some of the new additions to EdgeRater and frankly, some of the things that even I had forgotten. Great tools and features. We had John Person giving a great talk about his favorite indicators and showing what we're developing inside Market MRI Pro, which was very exciting. And then Matt Caruso, I think, really impressed the audience with his approach to the markets and introduced us to his FOMO indicator. Let's see, Seadrill is the next one. So we're talking an energy services play, I believe. Oil and gas drilling, okay. And again, when you buy stocks that are rotating out of the bottom, they're pretty beat up. So I probably wouldn't go for that. Let's see, Click, a semiconductor. Again, something coming off the bottom. I like to buy leaders. And it looks like we've got a CCJ uranium. The one thing about uranium which may or may not bother me is my son today, who doesn't participate in the markets, certainly not actively, called me up all excited about uranium and asked which stocks to buy for the long run. And frankly, these are all weekly. Let's change this back to the daily. This is probably the stock to buy, which is Cameco, which I think is the granddaddy of all of them. Let's go back and look at Amazon, since I just realized I was on a weekly chart, and see if that cup and handle is a little bit more obvious. It's just a little bit bigger, but beautiful chart. And again, Amazon's up 1.6. All right, from this top-down approach, I'm not seeing anything I really like. MP Minerals, one of my holdings in my larger portfolio. Noticed it was up a lot in the market. Kind of looks like CCJ. I think it's more about rare earth minerals. If I go back to the impulse, and again, I've got the $5 and the 500,000 filters on, and let's just bring up the 2-day momentum. See if we get any. Whoa, we got a lot. This is my favorite signal in the market. I still look at the charts. I just don't buy a signal. But let's take a look what we got. Flutter. This is a gambling stock. And pull back to the 200. Big move up after a nice day on Friday. There's your two blue dots in a row out of a squeeze. Relative strength OBV. Let's see what it looks like here in earnings. Look at the earnings percent change. That's what the next big runs are made of, growth driven by earnings. PE's 32. You can see the earnings growth rate is impressive. I like Flutter. Earnings are out. They've been out for a month. So Flutter looks interesting here. Twist Biotech. Let's see what this one looks like. I'd rather buy Flutter, which is higher in the program. The Real. I guess this is some kind of a retail stock. Yeah, beautiful pattern. Pull back to the 200. Definitely having a squeeze here. 3 dots, volume breakout momentum, 2 momentums in a row, relative strength OBV, the right pattern. I think that looks good. VEL. I like the move up off the bottom, but I still rather buy things that are in uptrends. TWI, what is that? TWI is Titan International. Industrials. Well, we know industrials are strong. Let's look at this on a weekly. Kind of beaten up and beaten down. All right, less interested. Snacks, what is SNX? These are new, what do we call them? New inventory, Synex, yeah. NNN. National Retail Properties, a REIT, does it pay a big dividend? 5.6%. Kind of gets capped by that 200. I think I'd want it to clear the 200. One of the reasons I like to buy below the 200 is because we fail there so often. eTor. IPO. AVO. That's industrials, I believe. No, consumer defensive. Mission Produce. ACLS. Growth related stock. Let's see what it has. Now, clearly it's in an uptrend. It's got the 2 dots here. I'm compelled to look at this one just because I've known this stock for a while. Let's look at the weekly. And it was an IBD growth type stock on the way up. It's kind of buying it at a pretty low amount. I guess the negative is, and I wouldn't buy it here, is just because of all this overhead supply and the major indexes. But that's what I want to keep an eye on. And then ALT, let's go back to the daily chart. Low cost stock, Altimmune. So the key here is, and it's kind of interesting as it's still got to get above the 200. I think I'll stick with the first one, Flutter. 4 dots, so you had gap, volume, breakout momentum from a squeeze, relative strength OBV look good. It is not extended, so as I look through my picks for potential on Tuesday, I'm going to be looking at Flutter Entertainment. Not sure if it's related to China at all. I don't think so. So that may mean it's immune to what happens with the China market. But I think, as we all know, if the market goes sky high, whatever you have goes with it. So have a great day in the market Tuesday. And oh, by the way, if the market takes a dump, probably doesn't matter what you have either, because I'm a top-down person. Take care, everybody. Look forward to launching that first episode of our user group.